Welcome to Visual Recreation, the essential video guide to winning FML each and every week. I'm your local explorer, Dora Drew.
Nice, and I'm Joey, your strategy guy. And after a month of 1 and 2 movies a week comes a weekend where we get 5, yes, count them, 5 new releases with
Cinco,
Dora and the Lost City of Gold,
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark,
The Art of Racing in the Rain,
The Kitchen,
and Brian Banks.
Now, the first movie we're going to be talking about is Dora and the Lost City of Gold. Now, Dora grabs her backpack and goes on an adventure she never thought she would have. To high school. Come to find out, she gets kidnapped with some of her friends, and then she's back in the jungle.
Now, this movie stars Isabella Moner, Eugenio Derbez, Michael Pena, and Eva Longoria.
That's right. Now, this was directed by James Bobin, who has directed such movies as The Muppets back in 2011 and Muppets Most Wanted.
Yes, now this movie is going to be in 3,500 theaters according to Box Office Mojo. And the long-range forecast, according to Pro Box Office, has it at $28 million.
Wow.
So
that's a healthy theater count, and that's a healthy long-range forecast. But I think that Dora will always be synonymous with baby things. And I think a lot of kids may not want to tend to be, if they're trying to be older, they don't want to see this Dora, even though this Dora is not essentially a straight remake.
Right.
This is almost like a, what was it? You said it best. The Tomb Raider for kids, almost. Personally, right off the bat, first inclinations is that it's going to do less than its long-range forecast. Probably low 20s, maybe even in the teens.
I don't know. I think that there's some hardcore Nickelodeon fans out there that are very interested in this movie. I think it could surprise everyone in Fantasy Movie League.
If it does hit it, it could be shocking. Almost scary.
Yes.
Almost as scary as Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is the next movie we're talking about.
That's right.
Now, picture this. It's 1968 in the small town of Mill Valley, where a book of scary stories written by a girl who has passed away, and now another girl is reading these stories, and it's coming to life and haunting all of her friends and herself. And it's scary, and it's at night, and it's
scary.
They're telling things.
Scary things. Yes, this movie stars Zoe Colletti and Dean Norris.
That's right, and one of the most notable names attached to this film is Guillermo del Toro.
Now, this movie is slated to be in 3,000 theaters, and the long-range forecast right now is $11 million.
That's really great.
What do you think about that?
To me, I think that, yes, we had an onslaught of horror movies that came out in the beginning of this summer. The Curse of La Llorona, we had Annabelle, we had Child's Play, all in the same month. Then we had Crawl not too long ago, except for this one, this isn't a spin-off movie, this isn't a sequel, this isn't a monster movie. It has Guillermo del Toro's name on it, and it's PG-13, and it's the only real horror movie coming out this weekend. Yes, there's a lot of competition, but I think the 11 million is possible, and maybe even more.
I agree with the 11 million, that I could hit it. It's looking at a very niche audience with other movies that have nothing to do with it, so it's gonna pull in a crowd for sure. I mean, it looks very spooky and creepy. It kind of reminds me of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm not a huge fan of the horror genre, but it did pique my interest. So yeah, I agree. I think it can hit that 11 million.
Yeah, and when Guillermo del Toro does something in horror genres or something that's creative, it's like a work of art. It's almost, as you would say, kind of like the art of racing in the rain.
Yes, now if you thought dog movies where they talk and they're smart were all over, well, guess what? There's another one coming out in the form of The Art of Racing in the Rain.
Squirrel! Kevin Costner plays a dog named Enzo, which helps his human navigate not only the journey of life, but a racetrack. This dog is spectacular.
Yes, this movie stars Milo Ventimiglia. I can't even say. I can't pronounce it. I apologize. Yes, and Kevin Costner as the dog. That's right.
Now this movie is going to open up in 2,800 theaters approximately, and from Box Office Mojo, and the long-range forecast is around $8 million. This one has a 6% decrease from last week, so it's not trending in the right area. Just earlier this year, we had not only A Dog's Way Home, but A Dog's Journey.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm kind of burnt out on these movies personally, and I don't know how much curb appeal this movie has, I don't know. I want to say 6. I want to say like 6 or sub 6.
I don't know. I mean, dog movies have to be doing something. They keep throwing them at us. FML history. You look at Dog's Purpose. That surprised everyone.
Like,
if this one does surprise and the price is right and it hits that 8.5 or even a little bit more and makes the double digits, it could make your Cineplex this week.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get chopped down at the knees. Which, speaking of chopped, we have The Kitchen. That's right, from DC Comics comes a trio of strong women ready to take on the Irish Mafia in The Kitchen. No, I'm not talking about like the literal kitchen. I'm talking about like the movie The Kitchen.
Oh, gotcha, yes.
This isn't like Chop the movie.
Right. Now, The Kitchen stars Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, and Elizabeth Moss.
Now,
Moss.
Yeah, Moss.
Moss.
This movie was written and directed by Andrea Burloff, who is known for writing Straight Outta Compton, Crazy Mother...
Calm down over there. Box Office Mojo has this coming out in an estimated 2,700 theaters with a long-range forecast of $11.5 million.
That is... Can I just say, this is... Thinking now just thinking about how many theaters these movies are coming into, like, a lot of things are going to get cut. Like, a lot of the movies that have been doing well right now and holding theater counts, they are going to get destroyed and obliterated. It's DC Comics. They're not having a lot of goodwill in the movie theater as of lately. And this one could also have an appeal of, oh, we can see that later at home or on video on demand or something. I'd like to say this one could do more because I think it could actually be a really fun story and I like all these actresses, but I'm inclined to say that this one could maybe just do like $9 or $8 million.
And the theater count plays a part in this. 2,700 theaters, 11.5 million. That may be kind of pushing it a little bit. I'm gonna put this down to 9, maybe pushing 10. I don't know if it can get in the double digits.
Yeah. Speaking of competition, you know it's very competitive.
What's
the
that?
NFL.
The NFL.
And you know who was in the NFL?
Who was that?
Brian Banks.
Brian
Now,
Banks.
from Bleecker Street comes the inspirational true story of Brian Banks, who was convicted of a crime he did not commit. Through faith and support of his friends and family, he has been able to reclaim his life and fulfill his dream of playing in the NFL. Spoiler alerts, but don't be mad at me because that was all taken from Rotten Tomatoes.
Box Office Mojo has this premiering in 1,500 theaters, and right now, there's no long-range forecast.
Which kind of scares me a little bit. Maybe it could be in a little bit more than 1,500 theaters, or it could be even in a little bit lower than 1,500 theaters. You just gotta weigh out the options. This is faith-based, so it could bring out that crowd, maybe some church crowds, you never know. But my first inclination is I'm very cautious on this one.
If you look at the theater count at 1,500, then you got other movies, 2,500, 3,800, 3,500, and then all the good holdovers that are in the theaters right now with Lion King and Hobbs and Shaw, with other huge theater counts as well.
Yeah.
There may not be enough room to go around for this one to make a lot opening weekend for Fantasy Movie League, at least.
But you have to also remember there is movies that kind of broke out a little bit. You had Breakthrough last year and Unplanned, which did better than expected, but also you have to look at pricing. Right. And those, I think, had a little bit more of a broader stroke on them for a broader audience, whereas this one's, I feel, is kind of niche. This one, I think, is the tough ones. The ones with no long-range forecast and in that weird land of 1,500 to like 20 or 2,000. 1,500 to 2,000 theaters is kind of like, what?
Yeah, and if the pricing's low enough and they hit that bonus marker, then, you know, so... I don't know, something to think about. Just look
also,
out
there
for it.
might not be a Thursday number for Brian Banks.
Yeah,
and that's also scary too.
And that's also not helpful. That's it for this week in VizRec. Good luck, Fantasy Movie League, picking your Cineplexes, or I hope that you get the perfect Cineplex, but that's it from us. And remember,
sometimes you gotta risk it to get that biscuit.